time, I appear very able. With a good prosthesis and lots of training and care, I can walk for short distances almost anywhere. I can handle ramps and stairs and cobblestones and potholes. I can step up curbs and open doors for myself and even fit through tight spaces. Well, maybe fitting through the tight spaces has more to do with genetics, but you get the idea. For me, getting around isn't always easy, but it is usually accessible. When I take my leg off, or when I can't wear it due to prosthetic issues or skin issues, that's a different picture altogether. You can't wear a prosthesis 24/7, and some amputees can't wear one at all. Without it, we use crutches or walkers or wheelchairs to get around. What I'm trying to say is that being here today at an event like this to talk about accessibility makes me feel both grateful and guilty. Through my rehabilitation, I've met many good friends who are not as mobile as I am. And hanging out with them, I've had the chance to experience barriers through their eyes, obstacles I might never notice on my own. And yet, I continue to eat at restaurants and shop at businesses that are not fully accessible. Why? Because I can. Maybe you felt that way too. I live in Philadelphia's Old City neighborhood, where in 2013, a survey found that only 9 out of 72 storefronts had accessible entrances. 9 out of 72. And that's in a neighborhood that hosts travelers from all over the world. A neighborhood that is supposed to be welcoming and tourist-friendly. This is a problem. That statistic should actually be reversed. Accessibility should be the rule, not the exception. So that's why events like today are important. We have to increase those numbers. So I just want to take a second and thank all of you for being here. Today, you are part of that solution. Let's talk about that word for just a second, accessible. I'm a teacher, so naturally, I wanted to make sure I had a full understanding of that definition before I stood up here in front of you today. So I Googled it. Accessible means able to be reached or entered, like doorways that are wide enough or places with ramps instead of stairs. It means able to be obtained or used, like a countertop that's the right height, or groceries that are within reach, or maybe braille writing in an elevator. These are all physical qualities constructed with brick and mortar, measurements and calculations. But accessible has another definition too. It means welcoming, friendly, or approachable. Think about a colleague or a boss who you might describe as accessible. These emotional qualities are more difficult to measure, but when we're mapping for accessibility, we need to consider those too. How does it feel to access those accommodations? So I'd like to tell you about my friend Anna. Anna is a home health care aide, and she works with people who have mobility issues. When Anna is out and about, she always notices potential barriers for people with disabilities. She describes it as using her wheelchair eyes. Here's the interesting part. We all see what Anna sees, but we don't always notice what Anna notices. We see a sidewalk. Anna notices how that sidewalk slants downward toward the street, making a wheelchair difficult to steer and control. We see a Starbucks. Anna notices how the flagstone outside the Starbucks is uneven and hazardous and stays icy even after it's been salted. We see a construction site along Montgomery Avenue. Anna notices that the construction workers have left their forklift in a handicapped parking zone. Don't feel bad. It's natural to notice what's most relevant to us, what we need to move comfortably and safely. But what if we needed to see the things that Anna sees? Imagine that. Put your wheelchair eyes on for a second and think about the places you would go. You'd roll up to a museum in your wheelchair and you'd find a sign on the main entrance that says, handicapped entrance around the side. Wait, You have to go farther than other people to get in? It makes no sense, but it's more common than you would think. Or maybe you arrive at a restaurant, and when you're faced with a concrete step at the front door, you send your friend inside to ask what to do. She returns with the host of the restaurant, who ushers you down a side alley to a different entrance, an accessible entrance, which happens to be located next to the dumpsters. Another true story. Or maybe you decide to use an accessible restroom. It might even have grab bars. Great. But when you go to wash your hands, the soap dispenser and paper towels are too high on the wall for you to reach. That example is located right across the street from here. Some of you might even see it today. All businesses are required to make reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities. This is a legal obligation, but the devil's in the details. Accessibility is complicated, so it's important to describe and document how those obligations are fulfilled. That's why we're all here today. But first, one more quick story. A little while ago, I made plans to have dinner with my friend Jeff at a restaurant that was listed as accessible. It had a flat entranceway with no stairs, and the doorway was wide enough to accommodate Jeff's large power wheelchair. Inside the restaurant, there was a seating area with tables and chairs that could be arranged or rearranged to accommodate a person in a wheelchair. On paper, it seemed ideal. When we arrived, it was much more complex. The seating area was located in the back of the restaurant, past a long, narrow bar area. And the bar was crowded. It was happy hour. There were customers everywhere, sitting on bar stools, standing in the walkway, talking loudly, gesturing with their hands, and just celebrating the weekend. For most diners entering the restaurant, this was no big deal. Wending their way through the crowd would have been just fine. For me, with my prosthetic leg, it was challenging, but manageable. But it was impossible for Jeff to get through. No worries, the manager said. Hang on a second. And as we waited in the entranceway, he cleared the entire bar area. He parted the crowd like the Red Sea. He moved stools, people, drinks, hustled them all to the outside corners of the room. The conversations quieted. The cheerful hum was gone as Jeff and I wheeled through. All eyes on us. Now, don't get me wrong, that manager was incredibly accommodating. And once we got to our table, the food was actually great. But was the experience welcoming, discreet, comfortable? Would we choose to go back there again? Accessibility is a wonderful thing, and it's come a long way. But in today's world, accessible does not always mean equal or easy. It doesn't necessarily make a person feel able or confident or, dare I say, empowered. It doesn't ensure that people with mobility challenges can take the same paths as their non-challenged friends. It simply means that with a little help, or sometimes a lot of help, they might be able to get inside the door. Today we're using an app called Access Earth. I love the motto on their website: know more, do more, live more. The creators of Access Earth recognize the complexity of accessibility. They realize it's not a simple yes-no question, yet their mission is to answer it anyway. To make travel easy and equal for everyone. To empower people of various abilities to embark on new adventures. And most importantly, to mobilize a community to make that happen. Today, we're part of that community. For the next hour or so, we'll take small steps and small measurements, punch in small bits of information into a small app on our small phones. But those small data points will become building blocks toward a much larger goal, to ensure that people of all abilities can navigate knowledgeably, independently, and with dignity wherever they want to go. It's a big job, and there's much work to do. But imagine the difference you'll be making. Imagine a world where accessibility is the standard, not the exception. where accessible means equal access, where you can roll your chair or take your walker or use your fingers to read any sign in any restaurant or store, where the roads and sidewalks are neatly marked and smoothly paved, where you don't have to plan ahead or use a separate entrance or bring an assistant along to help you. When you go out there today, remember that there's not always a clear line between able and disabled. These labels often depend on the environment around us. Open your wheelchair eyes. Notice the potential of each space, not only its hazards, but its strengths too. Picture how people of different abilities might park their car, or open a door, or read a sign, or wash their hands, or enjoy a meal. When you use the app, leave comments, be descriptive and informative, and don't be afraid to suggest a change. Start a dialogue today and keep the conversation going long after you leave. Use your wheelchair eyes, but most importantly, use your wheelchair heart too. Thank you.